Hey everybody, Samp and Chance back at ya. Here I am, Samp and Chance. How you guys doing today? And right below us, or right beside us, sorry, we have two-time IBF World Champion, Cruiserweight World Champion, Mr. Steve, USS Cunningham. Steve, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's an honor and a privilege to have you on. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Doing very good. Relaxing. It's Friday, man. It's raining here, so I'm ready to take a nap.
Yeah, no, I hear you that too, brother. We're out here on the west coast of Vancouver. It's raining today as well, so our weathers match up. But yeah, Steve, let's get right into it, man. I mean, your boxing career started a little bit later in life, so I thought maybe we could just talk about growing up in Philadelphia. What was that like in the 90s? Heavy 80s.
uh, yeah. Late '80s, mid to late '80s, early '90s. Philly was in the beginning. I was raised with my mom and my dad in the same household, so it was great in North Philadelphia. It was a great neighborhood, the ghetto, but to us, it wasn't a bad thing. It's just everybody wasn't making 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 a year. But it was a great neighborhood, great experience. You could eat at other people's houses. There wasn't shootings at the time. This is the '80s, late mid to late '80s. There wasn't, there was violence, but it was just wasn't nothing crazy. Now, crack cocaine hit the streets. Thank you CIA, or not? No, thank you. And they flooded the streets of the ghettos of America with crack cocaine, and that overnight destroyed the city. It destroyed. I saw it with my own eyes. It destroyed our city. So from that, my father got on crack. Because they came from the party. The party drugs, marijuana, right. A little cocaine. The party drugs, and they gave them this new drug, crack, and it's like that just blew everybody's mind. So from there, my mom and dad separated. We're moving around neighborhoods. I got picked on a lot, new kid in the block. And at one time I was getting jumped in 6th grade. I was getting jumped here and there. So I just made the choice. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna fight back. You know what I mean? Like I gotta go to school. I can't stay home. I can't hide from them. So I decided to fight back, and I beat them. The guys who jumped me, I got them one by one, and I beat them. And I'm like, wow, like, oh man, and it kind of garnered me respect. So that's me just understanding the way of the world, at that time, because that's the way the world worked. You beat a couple dudes up in that world, people won't mess with you. They'll respect you. So I just didn't want to be messed with. Years later, I started getting into some kind of street stuff.
Sure.
And of course, dealing with crack cocaine. And I was making some crazy money as a teenager, but something hit me about 2 years in, and it's like, yo, you gotta do something with your life. I seen so many friends, not even friends, guys that I knew in the neighborhood, teenagers. We went to school together. We weren't necessarily friends, but those guys, they're dead. The Philadelphia newspaper did I think it was like 92, 91 or 92. They put in the newspaper, because the violence was crazy now. Now there's violence all over the place. Everybody got guns. A lot of the teenagers are selling crack. It's violence, territorial violence. And they put in the newspaper little pictures of all of the teens under 21 that were murdered that year. And we were just going through the paper, picking out guys. Oh, that's so-and-so. Oh, man, and it was horrible like that. So at that time, I stopped doing, the mess I was getting into. And I was like, man, I got to graduate. I got to graduate high school. I got to get the freak out of here, like I don't want to be dead. I don't want to go to jail, and it was more than that. I felt something. I just had this, and I'll just use these common words. So I just felt like it was like an inner voice. I heard this inner voice, like, yo, you gotta do something. There's more for you, and I'm like, what though? I was an artist. I mean, I am still, I'm an artist. In high school, art was my major.
Right on.
So after lunch, I was in art class, for 4 periods, and then we went home. So my goal was to fill out the paperwork and go to the Art Institute of Philadelphia, or either New York, or I was looking at San Francisco. I was just looking, and but my mom, she's a single parent. She didn't go to college. She's working 2 jobs trying to support 3 children and keep the rent up. And she never went to college, so she couldn't tell me what to do. Fill out paperwork for financial aid, do this, get my portfolio ready, da da da. So next thing I know, it's April, mid to late April, and all my friends are getting these acceptance letters to New York Art Institute, going abroad in Philly Art Institute. And I'm like, where's mine at? My art teacher's like, you didn't send out nothing. And I'm like, oh snot, So I'm like, whoa, what that mean, And it's like, you ain't going nowhere, So the Navy recruiter came in my advisory class probably about a week after that.
Okay.
And and I, at that time, that's when I really had that inner voice conversation with myself, like, bro, you gotta get the hell out of Philly. You gotta do something. I'm like, man, if I graduate, I'm gonna get back into that nonsense, because I didn't see myself working at Checkers. I didn't see myself working at McDonald's. Because that wasn't money to me. And I'm, not to sound like I was making millions, but we were making some good money. And it's like, that can't sustain me. Now I'm older. I'm possibly want my own place. So the Navy recruiter came in to my advisory class and was like, listen, college money, travel the world, meet girls, weekly, monthly checks. I was like, I'm out of here, And I joined the Navy at age 18, turned 18 that summer. I graduated. I told them I wanted to, enjoy my summer. And then I went after the summer was over. So I joined the Navy in September 4th, 1998. And man, that was it from there. So in joining the Navy, I'm filling out my paperwork for the recruiter. The recruiter tells me, hey, what he asked me, he says, what's your hobby? So I write down art, drawing and boxing. Because, growing up, my dad, this is when boxing was on network television.
ABC, Wide World of Sports.
ABC, yes. So my dad was which I found out years later after I'm a world champion. He kind of disclosed to me that he wanted to box when he was young, but he never got a chance to. But my dad, the love for boxing that he sit us down and we watched these fights. I watched Sugar Ray Leonard, Hearns, Hagler, those guys, Junior Juice Jones. Those guys, man, and just other guys. Just boxing was like part of me, because it like took hold of me back then, but it was just a little subtle seed at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that we both have very similar here, because I tell Chance all the time, this is how I became a boxing fan, because of ABC Wide World of Sports. Every Saturday morning, you turn on that tube, man, and there they were. And that's where I saw my hero, Marvin Hagler, fight oh my God, Hearns in that amazing fight. And I'm like, after that day, I said, fuck, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Right.
So yeah, carry on. So yeah, you're on the Navy now.
So I'm in the Navy, and I'm filling out my paperwork, and I tell them boxing. I put boxing on it also because throughout my years as a teenager, I got into so many fights. I had people tell me, yo, you should box. I mean, I had some epic fights, like in the streets shut down, neighborhoods out. And then watch, it's kind of an ode to what I did become, it's crazy. But so I tell the guy that I wanted to box. I never got a chance to box while I was in Philly, because the neighborhood I was in, there in Philadelphia, there are rec centers. There's 1 or 2 rec centers in each neighborhood.
Okay.
And in each community. And they all had boxing gyms in it. That was like the recreation for the city, boxing. That's why Philly is crazy with boxing. And this was 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s. And the neighborhood, the end of the neighborhood of the community where I was at, where the boxing gym was, these guys, they were talking about they wanted to kill me, and they wanted to do, wanted to harm me. So I'm like, I'm not going down there. I'm not going to that gym. They went to that gym. And so that's why I started boxing so late at age 19, because I didn't start boxing until I got into the Navy.
Right.
So when I joined the Navy, went through boot camp, got stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, was stationed on the USS America, which is in Norfolk. Little Creek Amphibious Base is about 15, 20 minutes away. So we would drive there after work. And that base is where the Navy boxing team headquarters was,
Okay.
So ironic, it was crazy. So I'm just driving there going, and I was just working out by myself for like probably 8 months, man. Because, you know, I just wanted to box, you know. I didn't care. I didn't know anything about what I needed to do. All I knew was gloves, bag, let's work, you know. So I would just train, man, boom, 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 by myself, boom, boom, boom. About 8 months in, I started getting trained by a Marine officer named Major Hansen. He was my actual first trainer, you know, first official boxing trainer, Major Hansen. Older white guy, you know, if the picture of a Marine, that's him. The short, flat top. Oh man, that's my guy, man. That's him. He is the picture of a Marine. If you think of a Marine as him. So he trained me, he got in the ring with me, and even in the military, officers weren't supposed to, like, you know, spar with enlisted. You know, I was enlisted, but he's just, man, F that, man. I'm gonna do this, that. So me and him would spar and spar. And we got to a point to where, you know, he was like, man, you want to fight? So I was like, yeah, I want to fight, yes. So he got me my first fight. I come into the gym one day. He goes, Cunningham, guess what? I got great news. I'm like, what? He's like, got to be your first fight. I'm like, yeah. Against who? So he goes, there's a guy named Israel Spencer. He's the light heavyweight champ of the Navy. So this guy's got about 50, 60 amateur fights. Been to the nationals and all that. And here it is. This is my first fight. But coach believed in me. You know, coach believed in me. So he's like, man, I got you fight. You'll beat him, man. No problem. He said, one thing. I had the line say you had 10 wins with 10 knockouts. Wow. So I was like,
which you probably had at some point.
Right. So I'm like, great. You know, I didn't care. I just wanted to fight. You know, it was just about fighting. And I get in there, we're training for the fight. Some of the guys from the Navy team, because I wasn't on the Navy team at the time, they came up to the gym trying to discourage me. Oh man, he gonna beat you, man. You don't got no fights. How he's gonna beat you? And night of the fight, I get there and I trashed that guy. I ran through him, you know, like he got tired. I kept going, and I beat him. You know, I won my first fight against this experienced guy. And I was like, yo, I mean, it was so amazing. I was so excited. So when I walked out the ring, the Navy coach, he's there. He was his coach, the boxing team coach. He's coming over here with an application all ready for me to sign, get on the boxing team. Hey man, we need you. So I go into the locker room and I just threw up. I mean, that's how hard I was pushing. You know, it's like, don't lose. You can't lose. You can't, you know. So after that, I joined the Navy boxing team, fight in the Armed Forces tournament. The Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, everybody's got a boxing team. It's a big tournament, and we fight. I got a silver, and the guy I fought, actually, Israel Spencer, he went heavyweight. I stayed light heavyweight. He got a gold. I got silver. We became close friends, but every time we sparred, it was like he was trying to get me back for that loss. But the Army guy was number 1 in the country, and I think like number 2 in the world.
Oh wow! So
I fight him. I get in there and I hit him, boom, and he almost is out. And but and then, you know, he scored. He outpointed me, and I got the silver. But he was like, man, you're gonna do good in the nationals, you know. So I go to the national tournament. I go to the national U.S. Nationals 1998. I lose because I pull the number 2 guy in the country. My first fight. And he's like number 3 in the world, Anthony Stewart. You know, we had some serious light heavyweights back then. And the first day of that tournament, I pull Anthony Stewart and we fight toe to toe. And of course he won, but I thought I won. I thought I won at the time. So we were talking trash and ready to fight in the back. But we became friends later too. You know, the passion, man. You know, it's just passionate. You know, I'm passionate. It's a passionate sport. And so that was March 98. Now I'm getting ready for the National Golden Gloves in May 98. And I go to the National Golden Gloves and I sweep that whole national tournament. I beat everybody. Boom, 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 boom. 5 nights in a row, man. I'm national champ. Fought on ESPN. You know, the championship was on ESPN. And the crazy thing is, I didn't know what the Golden Gloves national tournament was. I'm there asking the guys. I was with the DC team. I'm like, what is this? And, you know, they're like, what? So they were laughing at me like, oh, man, this dude ain't going to make it. Because, you know, I'm from the Navy. They were from the Washington, D.C. area.
Right.
So I joined up with their team, and they didn't know me. They're like, oh, this dude gonna lose, and there it is. They're ringside at my championship fight, while I win the tournament. But so from there, it was 1998. This is my 4th year in the military. I was scheduled to go to China. Now that I'm a national champ, I was on Team USA. They sent me a big bag, with the gear in it. That's when you made it, man. I was like, oh yeah, man. Socks, shoes, sneakers, sweatsuits, USA boxing, man. I made it. And they're like, we need you to go to China, Chongqing, China, for the World Cup, 1998 World Cup. So I got orders, and this is very important. This is the reason why I decided to leave the Navy and pursue my career. So I got orders to my ship was supposed to go out to sea for 3 weeks and do workups.
Sure.
Now in the Navy, my lieutenant, he saw me box before. He signed my paperwork and was like, you serve the Navy better boxing on the boxing team. And so he's like, as long as I'm here, you're going to go on these trips. So I was like, great. When they leave, he transitioned out. He went to another duty station. We get a new lieutenant. This guy is a young guy. He's gung-ho, Navy, just fresh out of college. Everything's got to be right. So, but now I'm getting ready. I'm training. My ship is out. I'm training in Little Creek Base to go to China. They didn't want me to go to China as a military guy because, China was communist and they just wanted to be safe. Like, we don't want nobody kidnapping you. I was like, whoa, what? So I had to go get a passport. Now, when we travel in the military, we travel wherever. You don't need a passport. Right. But now I'm not traveling as military. I got to get a passport and a visa, which I didn't know. I didn't know I needed a visa. So me and my trainer, we're driving from Norfolk to the DC about an hour and a half, a few times to expedite this passport. We do that. Day of the flight to go to China. I go to his car, I take my bag, throw it in the car. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I mean, he worked the mess out of me, man. I was ready. And he's like, nah, you're not going. And I was like, what? What do you mean? He's like, USA Boxing didn't want you to go over there without a visa. We needed to apply for a visa too. We didn't know that. They didn't give us the info that we needed. And they're like, if you get over there, you might be stuck. And I was just like, oh. So from there, now my ship had about a week left to come back. So I just stayed training and stuff. My ship comes back and the lieutenant's mad at me for not getting flown out to sea when I found out I couldn't go to China. And he's like, no more boxing for you. And that's when I knew I got to get out. I got to get out because I went in that tournament, beating Israel Spencer, my first fight. That showed me this is what I'm supposed to be doing. That showed me that I can excel in this. So I got out the Navy and moved to Atlanta with my trainer, who's no longer Major Hansen. I'm sorry, I left that part out. Major Hansen basically handed me over to Anthony Chase. He was a coach on the 2012 Olympic team. But Anthony Chase was a former Navy boxer, and he came, and Coach Major Hansen was like, listen, Cunningham, we can't spar no more. He's like, you're getting too good. He's like, you're getting too good. So he's like, and then he said, listen, there's only so far I can take you. He said, now this guy, he can take you further. I mean, he handed me over, and I respected that, So now Coach Chase moves to Atlanta. I go to Atlanta trying to make the 2000 Olympic team. And, we fight in the tournaments. I lose to the guy that I beat in the National Golden Gloves. He went to the Olympic. So I'm like, hey, it's time for me to go pro, So I turned pro in 2000. Racked up, I think it was like 10 fights in like a year.
Yeah, your first 10 fights, there's not much out there to find in terms of video or anything. Tell us a little bit about that, unfortunately. Like I said, I mean, in this world of video and everything that's out there, you can find any fight basically. But unfortunately, those first 10 fights that you had, they're kind of hard to find. Why?
Yeah. So I have my first fight on VHS. I have my first fight.
That was against Norman Jones, right?
Yeah, Norman Jones. So I turned pro. It's my career, man. That's why I'm like, when I look back at my career, and I'm just like, wow, man, because the loops and the things that we had to go through to get. I'm a freaking 2-time world champion, man.
Yes,
When
sir.
you guys hear this, you're gonna be like, wow. So I put my name out on the market. I'm in Atlanta. I don't know if you guys remember Ebo Elder. Remember Ebo Elder?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I was really cool with him and his dad, Greg Elder. Greg was a big wheel down in Georgia boxing. And so Greg calls me. He wakes me up out of bed one Saturday. It's literally like 12 o'clock. Me and my wife, now wife, we're in bed sleep. And he's like, hey, Steve, I heard you said you wanted the pro, tour right now. So I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do no more amateur. I want to go pro. So he's like, well, listen, I got to fight for you tonight. He goes, I got to fight for you tonight. It's against a guy that you were supposed to fight for the Golden Glove to get to the Golden Gloves, but he pulled out the fight for whatever reason. So he's 0-0, Norman Jones, but he was a good amateur. And he said, both of you guys, it'd be your pro debut, but it's at his gym, So his gym was kind of like a makeshift. It was a barn turned into a gym. It was pretty nice. So he was like, $1,000, for 4 rounds. So I'm like, listen, I was flat broke. My wife was working. I was working these crazy jobs, and I had just got fired from a job, an overnight job. And I just was like, because my wife was like, listen, you can train and we can live off of my money, because we'll just do that for a while. She wanted me to be the best I could. So
That's
but
awesome.
I was, being a man though, I'm just like, man, I need some money, So this call comes through for $1,000, and I'm like, hell yeah, 4 rounds for $1,000. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna beat that dude. So we get down there, I box the socks off of this guy, and I win $1,000. We go straight to Walmart. And so from there, months later, I get a call about a fight. These guys want to look at me. It's a small promoter, Andy Zalewski, guy from Poland. He's from Chicago, actually, Polish guy from Chicago. He's teamed up with a guy named Jimmy Adams as a manager, and they made this company called Power Promotions, and they were looking for fighters, so they heard about me, and now they wanted to see me, so they got me a fight against a guy. I forgot his name, something Marsh or something. And I did my thing against him, looked good. So they're like, hey, we want you to sign with us. We can have you fighting once a month, this and that. And I was like, boom, that's it. So now here's the thing. It wasn't no more $1,000 fights for 4 rounds. You guys don't remember. I mean, for those who remember, I was, those $100 rounds, those are the rounds I was fighting, $100 per round. So now I'm fighting 4 rounders. I'm getting $400. I'm fighting a 6-rounder, 600. My goal was to try to get an 8-rounder or a 10-rounder so I can make some big money. But these guys were keeping me moving. As you see on my record, boom, 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 boom. I think 1 month I fought twice. And we were down in South Carolina, Tennessee. My first fight was in Savannah, Georgia. So, and this is 2001. No camera phones, not too much video on that. And it's a low, it's a minor promotion, So, but from there, Jimmy Adams, he had a relationship with Don King. Jimmy Adams managed Oliver McCall. You guys remember the Atomic Bull? And I sparred with Oliver a bit because we were all like in the same area camp. I had moved from Atlanta. I'm in Virginia, Martinsville, Virginia now. We'll talk about country. And we're out there working out, training with Oliver, a couple other guys. And Jimmy, now I'm 11-0, I'm 11-0. And Jimmy's like, listen, it's time to go to Don King because Power Promotions was falling apart in fighting. And we go to Don King. Now we set up the meeting. Now I'm getting trained by Richie Giacchetti. You guys remember Richie?
Yep.
I know he trained Mike Tyson, Larry Holmes.
Yeah.
Richie, old guy, man. Richie took me under his wing. Old school, so I trained with Richie for a few years, man, from about 2000 to 2006. I'm sorry, 2001 to 2007. But so Richie, we go to Don King invites us to Mandalay Bay to come sign the contract during the Lennox Lewis Hasim Rotman 2 fight.
Oh wow.
Right. So we fly out there. He flew us out there. We get out there. Now I was told I was going to get a signing bonus. I was told I was going to get a signing bonus because I'm 11-0. I could, grow into a heavyweight, because that's what Don's world was. And I'm expecting a signing bonus. He's like, yeah, man, about 15,000, probably 20,000. Yeah, you undefeated. So, I mean, I'm new to boxing. I don't know how it really goes, but that's what I'm told by this guy who's been here. And so I tell my wife, yeah, man, I should be coming home with some money, this and that. And we go to Mandalay Bay. It's my first time in Vegas. I'm blown away because it's a mega fight. It's for the freaking heavyweight crown. There's stars everywhere. Freaking, oh my God, you name them. McEnroe, basketball stars, Jordan, so-and-so. I'm just like, yo, like I'm blown away. This is 2002. 2001, late 2001. I believe that's when the fight was. And I'm blown away because I'm like, I'm on my way. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm in Vegas. I'm about to sign with Don. And I sit down with Don King in the office. It's a conference room. It's a huge conference table. So at the other end of the conference table was Golden Boys people because they were there negotiating a fight with Oscar and I think Trinidad or somebody from Don's team. And I'm like, I'm talking. So now I'm in here with Don. Oh, there's Don King. There's his assistant, Dana Jameson. And I'm like, oh man, like so. But I'm not starstruck to the point of where's the money? Let me see this contract so I can read it. And Don's talking his gibberish. Hey man, all that crap. And my manager, he was talking all of this and all of that. Now I see my manager, and these years with Don King showed me the business.
Right.
Because now I see how my manager is acting around Don. He's like a little boy around Don. He's like he's in love with Don. And I'm like, I'm peeping his energy, and I'm like, okay. So Don's like, hey, listen, sign this contract, man. We'll get you fights to the show, and this get your career started. Da, da, da. So I take the contract, and I don't know. I can't read a damn thing on a freaking contract. I don't know that language, but so I'm just looking for numbers.
Yeah.
I'm looking for numbers. All right, I see if you fight on TV, you get X amount. If you fight for a world title, you get this. But I'm like, all right, where's the signing bonus at? Where's the signing bonus? And I whispered to my manager, hey, where's the signing bonus? He tells Don, hey, Don, he was looking to get a signing bonus. And I'm like, that's not what you told me. I'm saying that to myself. And then Don just says, we don't do signing bonuses. I offered you, I can get you a shot at the title. And I was so mad. I was so angry. But I signed it. But I'm one of them people. If I don't like you, you will see it on my face if I'm around you. I just can't hide it. I can't hide it. I'm not comfortable.
Steve, may I kind of just a quick question? So before you signed with Don King, we already knew, we already had an idea of who Don King was as a promoter and the things that he's done in the past. Some great, some unsavory, unfortunately.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of the times as humans, we remember the bad more than the good. Right. Knowing all that information, why did you still go, if you don't mind me asking, why did you still go ahead and negotiate with him when there were other promoters and stuff out there that you could have gone to?
Well, we had talked with when I first after I got my first fight, my trainer at the time, he was acting as my manager. He which is Anthony Chase again. I'm back to Anthony Chase.
Right.
We were talking with the Duvas. We were talking with Main Events. Mm-hmm. And Lou Duva sent the contract. And he did have some upfront money, and I think it was like $2,500, $5,000. And I was just looking for anything because it made me feel like I was worth something,
Right on.
So my trainer, who was acting as my off-record manager, mm-hmm. he got the contract and all this and that. I'm ready to sign. Now we done had the contract for about 2 weeks now. I'm like, bro, coach, when we gonna sign this contract? What's up? So he was being smart. He sent it to his lawyer. His lawyer looked over it, and he finally told me, he's like, look, Steve, they want to take me out as trainer, and they want to do this, and that. And a fighter and his trainer, man, we're like, it's family, So
yeah.
I was just like, nah, and then there was another Capillo. I don't know if you guys remember this guy named Capillo. I forgot his name. He was a promoter from like Massachusetts or something.
I don't know.
This guy, well, he was doing some okay things. He had a television little television in. He sends me a contract, and he sends me he tells me they're going to fly me up to Connecticut. It was in Connecticut. They'll fly me up to Connecticut from Atlanta. We go to the airport. I go to the airport, give them my ID. They're like, yeah, you got to pay for your ticket.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what? So I'm like, that's not a good business, you know? So now with the Don thing, so now next is, you know, I get the fights, and now, you know, that's when we decided to just go the lower route and you know, build up, then go to a big promoter. I liked boxing. I love boxing, but I wasn't in the boxing. You get what I'm saying? So I wasn't like, even as an amateur, I had a short amateur career. I was from 96 to 2000, you know, a 4-year amateur career. So
you had over 200 fights in the amateurs, correct?
No. I had about 50 fights. I had about 55
50.
fights as an amateur.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I had about 50 fights as an amateur. And I was Navy. I never boxed in Philly. So I wasn't in the boxing circles to where I could hear that stuff about what Don did. Of course, you hear about stuff in the news, and you know, but you know that didn't.
Did Don King actually pay you?
Huh?
Don King actually pay you?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I never had an issue with money with Don King. Now I had issues in other places, but I never had an issue. Hold on, I'm sorry. Let me text my wife. She's at the hospital with my daughter.
Everything okay?
Yeah. My daughter's getting a biopsy. This is a normal thing for her. You know, like every 3 months or every 4 months now, just to check her out, make sure everything's right.
Yeah, no, we'd love to get into that a little bit. Well, we'll get into that a little bit here, but yeah, carry on, man. This is a beautiful story.
Speed it up.
Yep.
So I didn't know all of that stuff about Don. You know, right now is where I'm getting into boxing, the boxing world now. Sorry, I'm getting into the boxing world to where I'm starting to learn and pick up and see things. Like I told you, I'm watching my manager, and I'm like, this is nowhere near like what he said. You know, this meeting with Don King, he looks like a little boy in freaking Willy Wonka land, happy to be around Don King. I'm like, what the hell? So now
in wrestling we call that marking out.
Right, basically. So now I signed the contract with Don. I'm super pissed. Don can see my face. Like, I'm just sitting there like this, like, and Don can see my face, and he says, listen, Steve, listen. Let's get you these tickets to this fight tonight. And if you don't feel comfortable with the way anything by tomorrow with the contract, then we'll just rip it up tomorrow. And for some reason, I knew that was bullshit. I knew that was bullshit. So I went downstairs. I got away from my manager. I went downstairs, and I was just so mad at everybody. And I called my wife, and I was just going off like, man, these motherfuckers, man, this shit is crazy. It's not what it was. Nah. So she was just like, man, let's just work it out. So I was, and in all actuality, I came to this place of I was going to throw my first fight with Don so he could let me out the contract.
Oh, wow.
That's how mad I was. That is how mad I was. But then it was like, I don't want to do that. You know, that was a serious thought though. I freaking deliberated over that, you know, but it's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do my best, you know, like I always do. And so my first fight with Don happens to be at the Mandalay Bay the next year. And I get knocked down the first round. I fought a guy named Joseph Awunagi.
Right.
Actually, me and him are really cool right now because his kids box. His son boxes. His son is like a top amateur. I mean, this kid's like a 19-time national champ. His kid is good.
Oh, wow.
And I take my kids to the tournament, and we talk a lot. But Joseph knocked me down. Boom. And from there, Don King marked me. You know, I got up and outboxed him and won the fight. But Don King marked me. You know, so from there, Don was trying to send me to, feed me to all his other cruiserweights. And so if you look at my record then, I went from fighting once a month to fighting with Don literally almost once a year. I think it was 1 year with Don, I fought twice. In wow. eight or 9 years, I think it was 8 or 9 years I was with Don. And but all throughout them years, I'm fighting once here, once there. Each fight was key in moving me up because I won. And the reason why I stayed in shape, I treated boxing like it was a 9-to-5 job. I would get up every day, run. I didn't have a fight on schedule. Shoot, sometimes I would go out to camp for a couple weeks and just be out there, just training. Beat this guy, beat that guy. I fought. I trained with. I sparred with Jean-Marc Mormick when he fought Virgil Hill in South Africa. I went to South Africa because my trainer was training Jean-Marc. Richie J. Ketty was training Jean-Marc. So it was in-house sparring. I go out to South Africa, I'm sparring Jean-Marc, and I get a fight. Because I'm like, man, I'm out here sparring. I'm gonna be ready. They might as well throw me on the card. So Don agrees, yeah, let's throw him on the card. So they set me up with the fight against the number 7 ranked cruiserweight in the world. I don't even know where I'm at in the rankings right now. I'm like 13-0, 14-0, probably like top 20. I get to fight this guy, Sebastian Rotman, who just lost his IBO title, like his last fight. He just lost it. And I'm about to fight a former world champ. And I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm in Africa. I love it. Africa was beautiful. It was just a whole new experience. I'm in another country, but and that's what I looked at boxing as. When I was a teenager and kid. Sorry.
All good, brother.
When I was a teenager and a kid, and they said, you're a world champion, when they said he's a world champion, I would always envision like, man, this dude traveled and fought in Italy, he fought this, that's just the way I looked at it. And even though most don't now, but that's what I look forward to, and now I'm doing it, I'm living it. I'm in South Africa about to fight, on TV and this and that. So actually in that training camp, me and Jean-Marc Mormon, there was a language barrier, because he only speaks French. He spoke very broken English, and he, he's a finicky guy because he was the WBA champ, and he was a finicky dude, so we're training and I only have 2 years. Now I've learned how to work with somebody and not be a punching bag, because I've been to training camps with everybody. You name them from them 90s, 2000s, I've been to camp with them.
Wow.
But with Jean-Marc Mormick, at this time, I didn't know. And I left something out. I completely left something big out. Right before I turned pro, I got a chance to go spar with Chris Bird.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right after that tournament, I got a chance to spar with Chris Bird. He was about to go fight Vitaly. This is the fight when he beat Vitaly.
Wow.
And I went to camp with Chris for like I'll say about 10 days. I was down. I sparred him about 4 good times. And he paid me, and that was freaking great because I was broke, and he paid me. I got paid for sparring. And but Chris, I learned so much sparring Chris Bird from Chris beating up on me and teaching me, because I was so green. I even have that on video. I got to get it turned digital. Wait till I share that. I look so green. But
were you surprised he beat Klitschko?
Say it again.
Were you surprised that Bird upset Klitschko in that fight, or did you know it was?
I wasn't. No, I wasn't surprised because at that time, if you guys can remember, the big European dudes, they weren't killers back then. Like before them, the big European guy, he's just big, So that's how we looked at the Klitschkos in the beginning. That's how everybody kind of looked at them until they started really, showing us they're different, But sparring with Chris, we became like brothers,
Cool.
And we're still brothers to this day.
Awesome.
Their wife named his ex-wife. She named our daughter. She named Kennedy. That's how tight we became.
Wow.
So I just was supporting Chris no matter what. But the craftiness, man, I'm like, man, he should beat this big guy. But so he ends up beating him. But I learned so much from Chris Bird to where a guy that used to beat me up in sparring from the Canadian Olympic team, Chris Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I came back after that camp about 2 weeks, and man, I barely got touched by Chris Johnson. And I was like, and that's when it hit me. I was like, yo, I got to go spar up. I had to spar guys better than me in order to get better, because that was my constant thing, getting better. Right. Run more weights, more boxing, get better. I see Roy Jones. This dude's going 12 rounds, not looking like he's tired. I want to be like that. How do I get like that? So that was my thing. So now I'm in South Africa, sparring with Jean-Marc Mormick. My trainer Richie tells me, basically work with him. You know what I mean? Like work with him. So not don't kill him because he gets discouraged and all this and that. So I'm pop, we working, boom, boom, and I just didn't know how to work like that. I even knew how to just be docile or be me, and go after him. So after about a week, we're sparring, and my trainer kind of is like yelling at me. Now I have to notice that I'm fighting. So I'm worried, like, listen, it's time to start training me too, because he hasn't been giving me really instructions. We haven't been working one-on-one. He's been just concerned about the champ. And I'm like, shit, I'm gonna be champ someday. Like, bro, you need to work with me, So he's yelling at me in the ring, your feet's wrong, you're this wrong, you're that wrong. And I just lost it. It was like, motherfucker, boom. Like, you ain't been telling me shit, boom. All fucking week, boom. And I'm hitting Jean-Marc. Boom. Boom. I hit him one time, he was like, and we had like a second pause and just was like cats and dogs. Oh man, so they fired me that day. So I got fired from sparring Jean-Marc. I wasn't allowed to spar him. South Africa, I was the only one there. Like my trainer kind of stopped talking to me, even though we trained. He sided with Jean-Marc.
Right.
And that's kind of when I kind of peeped him, because it's like he's going after I'm like, I'm this guy, but Jean-Marc was making more money. He was the champ, and I'm like, oh, he's one of them guys. So I learned him. I learned, Richie. South African fight. I beat the champ. I'm the former champ. Now I'm number 7 in the world. Boom, I'm popping now. People talking about me. I beat Guillermo Jones. You guys remember Guillermo? Guillermo was a beast. I beat him in a split decision. And the only reason that was kind of split was because you guys remember Angel Man Freddie.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So remember, like when I was coming up amateur, he was killing, but that was before he fought Floyd and all that, before he kind of went a little crazy, and he would wear these red tights, the whole devil persona before the Jesus thing.
Yes.
And, right. So I wanted to match like that, I took something from him. So I had a whole black outfit. I wore these black tights all the way down to the ankles, not knowing that crap was going to kill me. and I trained in them a few times, but it wasn't there's a difference between training in them lights in the fight. Being under them lights, there's a freaking difference. The energy, the excitement, and you're just working. And in the fight, now I know I'm in shape. I know I'm in freaking shape. I know it. But in the fight, it's like round 4. This is an 8-round fight. It's probably like round 3 or 4. I sit down and I'm like, man, I'm not that. I just feel drained. And I don't know why. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So it kind of made the fight a little more, interesting for Guillermo Jones, because I wasn't who I could be. So that's why the fight was a split decision. I still squeaked it out, but I was, at the end, I was like, I had to come to a choice of keep my hands up and fight, which would seem like too much energy because I was so drained, or just work. And I just went in there and worked and just push. And at the end, I was so dead tired. And then I get to the locker room and I tell Richie, I'm like, yo, man, I was freaking so tired. And he looked and he was like, you had these damn tights on, like they're freaking holding in your heat. Like I was overheating. It was crazy, man. So, right. So I wanted that. I wanted to rematch with Guillermo and I almost got it. But so I beat Guillermo Jones. I forgot who else I fought after him. But then I fight Kelvin Davis,
right,
former IBF champion in Cleveland. And this is the fight. This is my biggest fight. This is bigger than the South Africa fight. That was my biggest fight. Now, and then I fought Guillermo Jones, a former world title challenger. He fought for the title at 147. Now he's cruiserweight. But this is it. Fighting for the number 1 spot, to fight for a world champion against a former world champ. And I'm like, oh man, I trained my butt off. Brought in my other coach to do mitts because Richie's hands were so busted up. He said his hands busted up from training Mike Tyson and Larry Holmes, and he's older. He's in his 60s.
Yeah.
I can't do mitts. So I brought in my old trainer, Anthony Chase, and we rekindled. And I just got sharp, man. So I get out there. I put on a boxing lesson and a little rumbling with Kelvin Davis, because he did have that Mike Tyson persona.
Mhm.
But I won the unanimous decision, and now I'm number one in the freaking world to fight O'Neal Bell,
Yeah.
which is another story in itself, because in Atlanta, me and O'Neal Bell, when O'Neal was a young pro, probably like 2 fights as a pro, I was an amateur national champ. Me and him would spar all the time. Oh man. And it was one of them things where if I fought smart, boxing O'Neal Bell wasn't hard. You know, if I box, pop, pop. But if I fought his fight, because I at that point I wasn't who I am. You know what I'm saying? Mentally in boxing. I didn't understand a lot. I was learning still. Even though I'm 21, 22, I just started boxing at 19. So I'm learning how to be me. But a guy like O'Neal Bell, he's a bruiser, man. I mean, he brings you that. If you box him, it's easy. But I would fight sometimes. I would fall into rumbling him. And that's when he would get over on me. You know, so it'd be any given day, it'd be O'Neal, it'd be me. And then I just started kind of just boxing him, and it was me. So now I'm number one to O'Neal Bell's crown, because O'Neal Bell now he stopped Jean-Marc Marmick, and he took the WBA and the he's got 3 of the belts. O'Neal Bell's got 3 of the belts. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, I'm about to be unified. I'm like, I know I can beat this dude. And I've gotten even better since those amateur days. And you know, me and O'Neal Bell talked some smack at the press conference. And I heard he, you know, of course, you know, he was with Al. So he won at that time, he wanted a lot of money, which he should have. You know, he wanted like $1 million to defend his titles. And we know the cruiserweights wasn't making that type of money, you know, in America. So he vacated the IBF, and now I have to go to Poland, who is the number 3, Krystof Wlodarcyzk. He's the number 3 guy. Now, this is where Don King didn't have any care for me. You got a guy, you got a tall guy, you got a veteran. I'm a Navy veteran. 9/11 happened. Everybody was so patriotic. I mean, it was unbelievable. Oh, you're in the military? Oh, I love you. You know, they just loved us, you know, veterans. It was just unbelievable. And we're like, man, he should have promoted off of that for me, you know, like that would I should have been a household name just off of that in itself, you know. But and the salute, you know.
And Don's patriotic himself. He's always waving those American flags. It's surprised he didn't do that.
Right. And I'm after the South African fight, that's when I started, or during the South African fight, that's when I started calling myself USS Cunningham. You know, so that's 2004. But everybody's still patriotic, it's still hot off of 9/11. And I'm like, bro, let's run with this, you know, shit. And they just didn't. So but now, you know, I'm like, we fight O'Neal. We're trying to fight O'Neal. He vacates the title. I gotta deal with Don King now. Don has to win the purse bid against the Polish guys.
Right.
Don doesn't have any care for me like that, because it's like I'm not knocking dudes out. I'm not knocking these dudes out. A fan once said in the comment box years ago, when people were kind of getting on me, like, you know, Cunningham don't have no power. Cunningham don't have this, he ain't that. You know, he just squeaks by, gets these decisions. And this one fan said it right. He said, you guys got to look at Cunningham's record. Look at who he's been fighting. I've been fighting top dudes since 04.
Right.
Top contenders. And he was like, show me a fighter that's knocking out top guys all the time.
Right on.
You know, he's like, show me a fighter. And I kind of prove him, because in my, I stopped Marco Huck, you know, knock Fury down. So it's not that I didn't have the power. It's just I was up against some top upper echelon elite cruiserweights. So Don didn't win the purse bid. We know Don has the money. Don could have won that purse bid. He didn't win the purse bid. He let the Polish promoters win the purse bid. So what we found out is these promoters, they wash each other's hands. You know, hey, listen, you take this cruiserweight title, but you give me something, you know, on the back end. You know what I mean? I'll let you have that cruiserweight title in Poland. And when they controlled the fight, they did so much dirt. It was unbelievable. I was sponsored by Grant. Hold up. Let me plug my iPad up. I was sponsored by Grant Boxing. And And I was supposed to, my gloves were supposed to be worn. I get to Poland. They took my gloves from me. They gave me some lame Everlast gloves, these smaller gloves. I mean, these gloves felt like mitts.
Yeah.
I was like, what? They switched the judge. It wasn't supposed to be a Polish judge. There was supposed to be a specific German judge. They switched him, and then they put in a Polish judge, and they just did so much other stuff. So I get into the fight. We fight. This is the first world title fight in Poland in their history. It's me.
Oh, wow.
It's unbelievable. And we get there. We fight. Boom. I lose the fight. They give the fight to him on the scorecards. Now, the American judge, I don't know that guy. Never met him before in my life. He had me winning 11 rounds to 1. 11 to 1.
Yeah.
And the other judge, the Polish judge, of course, gave Krystof 7 rounds, 8 rounds. And the German judge gave him like 9, So they still did this. So we learned. That was us learning. But we go to the locker room. After the fight, they didn't give us the drug test. This is a rule in IBF sanctioning. You must give a post-fight drug test, or it's an automatic immediate rematch.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the locker room. It's already late. I mean, it's like 1 a.m. Polish time. I'm on the phone. Everybody's like, "They robbed you, man. They robbed you." Oh,
Yeah,
man,
Yeah.
right. So the security comes and basically kicks us out. They're like, "We're closing the stadium." So I'm telling them, "Yo, I gotta do the drug test." And my manager was like, "Shh, don't say nothing." So we didn't say anything. They never gave us the drug test. Nobody never came in and said, "Piss in his cup," like they usually do. We get to the press conference, and my manager told me, Richie Giacchetti, trainer/manager, was like, "Listen, we're going to get the immediate rematch because they didn't get a drug test." So at the press conference, I was so mad because, and I get it. Polish people, they love their support is unbelievable. All the European countries, they support their fighters like anything.
Oh, they do. Absolutely.
It's unbelievable. So I'm sitting at the joint and I'm just mad because they're just so happy for him. And I'm like, he didn't win, but this is my first world title fight. This is my first time on the big stage. This is my first big money fight. This is $115,000 fight.
Yeah.
I went from fighting. I fought that January. I had to beg Don King to put me on that O'Neal Bell, Jean-Marc Mormick undercard. Because I'm like, I'm number one to whoever wins. I said, it only makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It makes sense to put me on the card. This dude gets me a guy named Lloyd Bryant. Somebody to just beat up and puts me on first.
Wow.
He's reluctant. My minimum with Don King was $5,000. I was supposed to get no less than $5,000. I got $3,500 for that fight. And he acted like he was doing me a favor. Oh, man. All right, I'll put you on, but only $3,500 though. And I'm just like, whatever. I freaking got to take it. Got to freaking take it. I wanted to be on that show. I wanted to be there. I get there. I'm the first fight. My family didn't get in the building. The venue didn't open the doors until the 3rd round. Good thing I didn't knock them out till the 5th round. Crazy. It's crazy. So that's the Don King I dealt with, that type of stuff. So now I get paid. So I went from $3,500 in January of 2006 to now I think it's November of 1.5. I mean, I wish $115,000 in 8 months.
Right.
And I'm like, now we're like, boom. So not knowing, and this is the reason why I want to do like a course for sorry, make sure this joint's plugged. I want to do a course for future boxers,
right?
For young boxers coming in, because my thing is not charging, and that's a problem. All right, there we go. So I want to do like a course, kind of like a how the NBA does it.
Yeah, like all the major sports, they bring them in and they talk about finances, how to
talk about taxes,
yourself. Yeah,
right, all of that stuff. Managers, what the manager should get. Me and Chris Bird talked about that, and one day that's going to happen.
Kind of like a fighter union,
right? We need to have a few old fighters, old former world champions, You get these newer kids from the new Olympic year, or anybody who wants to come in. Listen, this is our experience, and this is what to look out for. Because
Right on.
I didn't have anything to look out for. I didn't. The only person that was talking to me was Chris Berg, and he would tell me, because so by now, I've been to that one camp with Chris, but we talk more later. But so let me keep going. So I get the fight's over. I'm pissed. I know I'm going to get the rematch, and I tell him at the press conference, I'm coming back and I'm taking my freaking title. So they're laughing at me. This dude's crazy. So we leave. We filed a protest. Well, oh no, I'm sorry. Before we leave, because this is major. The promoter comes to my room that evening with $90,000 in cash in his hand. Now,
Wow.
when you fight overseas, you have to pay that country's taxes.
Yes.
So that comes off the top. Every time I fought, and I fought overseas about 7 times, this is the first. So I'm like, all right, cool. He showed us the receipt, Polish tax, blah, blah, boom, here's 90,000. So, but now it's me, my wife, my trainer, Richie, and we're shook. We're like, I'm shook, because I'm like, what the fuck? We gotta go through customs. With all this money, they'll take my money. So Don King had a representative out there too, Juan Gonzalez, the guy that, he was there to collect the money for Don, because when the promoter doesn't win the purse bid, the fighter pays a percentage that's negotiated in their contract to their promoter.
Okay.
Promoter gets a cut. I didn't know that. I didn't know that until now. So now I'm divvying up the 90,000. My trainer, who is my manager, Richie Giacchetti, he was getting 25% from management, which he flopped on here in Poland. I'm like, this dude not getting his full amount, because they took my gloves, they switched the judge, they did this. And I'm like, he didn't do his job. So,
right.
So I told him, I'm like, Richie, man, listen, I'm gonna give you like 20%, because he's already getting 10% for training too. So Richie leads with 30%. Boom. Right. Now, Don's guy, the negotiation with that was like 27%. I never knew to negotiate that percentage. I didn't know. That was from 2000, me signing that contract in 2001. You don't know about signing. So now that percentage is like 25, 26%. He gets almost 30,000. Boom. And I'm left with I was left with like $28,000, yo.
Wow.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Yo, that moment, I was like, what the fuck? I did all this training, all this fighting, got robbed. I lost my undefeated record.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm leaving here with less than my fucking promoter.
So
like Don left with 30,000.
That first defeat, how did you handle it? Like, I mean, money aside and everything, what was that first loss for you like?
Devastating.
Right.
Devastating. I mean, it hurt me because I'm a perfectionist. I'm a realist. My thing is, if you put the work in, you're going to be the best.
Absolutely.
I seen it in Floyd. I seen it in Roy. I seen it in these guys. And so that's what I'm out there. Yo, you can ask my wife. Shit, some of that stuff kind of I'll say, I won't say hurt my marriage, but it, the way I had to live, it took time away from my marriage.
Right.
Because I'll get up, run. Yo, my wife said she knew. She said she went, I remember my wife got her gallbladder taken out. And she was telling the operator, the doctors, to hurry up and bring her upstairs because she wanted to see me before I left. Because she knew it was 5 o'clock and she knew I was going to go to the gym. And they bring her up and I was gone. I gotta go to the gym. That's how I was. Babe, hey, you all right? Cool. I'm out. I gotta go to the gym. She knew that's how I did it. It was like my religion. Right. And it was my way of life. And I'm like, I do all of this. I swim, I lift weights, I sprint, I'm running miles, I'm wearing weights on my back while I box, weights on my wrist, And I'm like, they fucking cheated me. Right. So dude, I was listen, I was walking around the house at any given time, burst out in tears. Because I felt like I shouldn't lose. I just felt like that. So we get the hearing, we win the hearing for the immediate rematch. I'm elated. I'm excited. I'm excited for a couple reasons, because now I get to make another big paycheck. I get to get my time. I get to avenge my loss. So I fire Richie I fire him at this time because he didn't do his job, and there was some other stuff that happened, and I was just watching and adding, and I was just like talking with Chris Bird and his wife, because Chris Bird's wife was his manager, and she was explaining, like, my wife has a marketing degree from Boston University, and she was like, man, Livy, you can be Steve's manager. Y'all just get the lawyer. We got a lawyer. Our lawyer is John Horn. That's Floyd's lawyer, Vladimir's lawyer, and he was Chris Bird's lawyer.
Oh, okay.
John's a freaking good dude. He's the only lawyer that beat Don twice.
Oh, wow.
He's a bad dude. So we took John on, got rid of Richie, brought my wife on as manager. Now my amateur coach, Anthony Chase, is my head trainer now.
Okay.
Now I go over. We spank this kid, beat him, take the belt in Poland. Here's another thing about money. That fight was $90,000. The second fight for me, it was $90,000. I left with almost $70,000 bucks.
Oh, wow. Stark difference from the first time, eh?
It's completely different now.
Yeah.
Now we're watching percentages. We knowing this, we knowing that.
Right.
Boom. And we paid Don his money. We negotiated that percentage down. And Don didn't think I was gonna win. But now I come back a champion. Now I come back a freaking world champion. And he's excited, but he sends me to Germany the next year. And here it is again. I win the title not the next year. I'm sorry. At the end of that year. This is the year I fought twice in a year.
Right.
I beat Krystof Wlodarcyzk. I think it was May. Yep, May of 2006. And now I fight Marco Huck May of 2007. Now I fight Marco Huck December of 2007. Don King loses the purse bid again. Now I have to go to Germany, Marco Huck's hometown, where he grew up. That's where we're fighting.
Right.
In his hometown. And Marco Huck's a beast.
Yeah.
He beat Vadim Tokarev.
Yeah.
The fight before mine. Vadim Tokarev was supposed to be the future of the cruiserweight division.
Mm-hmm.
And Marco Huck made him look like a kid. I'm watching that fight like, oh, snap, I got to fight this motherfucker. I got to fight this guy. And Marco Huck's like 21 years old, 22 years old. I just hit 31.
Right.
Everybody's like, Cunningham's got to fight Marco Huck. Purse bid happened. I got to go to Germany. So all of the United States and American and European media wrote me off. Cunningham's going to lose his world title, his first defense. And I didn't look good in winning the title. I was in there like, because I learned fighting overseas, you have to be better than what you are. You have to be stronger, you have to be more diligent. You know what I'm saying? You can't just sit back and box in Europe. You ain't gonna win that. You gotta go get them guys. So my whole boxing thing was out the window. I went at him. And they tried to cheat. They knew I was kind of a mover. So they made the ring one of those slippery, one of those plastic tarps.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't canvas. So by the fourth, fifth round, I'm double jabbing, slipping and sliding. And I'm like, let this guy throw a punch and I fall. I slip. It's going to be called a knockdown. So that's what I had in the back of my head. So that was a real ugly fight. I looked bad. Everybody looked bad, but I got the win. That's all that mattered.
Right.
And Marco Huck and their team, they saw that fight. They were so big-headed. Oh, we going to kill Cunningham. Yeah. So I went to Don. Now Don is, I went to Don's office. We negotiated the amount. This fight is 200,000. I'm like, sure, making some money.
Yeah.
But listen, I'm a world champion. 200,000, that's not a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But as a cruiserweight, that's all we can get. But it's still a lot of money to me, shit. You know what I mean? 200,000 for a fight. That's a lot of money. But world champions is fighting for 400, 500, 600,000. I remember when dudes used to travel overseas, you knew you was getting paid. I mean, paid. But so, the whole excuse is it's the cruiserweights. Okay, cool. So we negotiate that purse. And Don's like, yeah, man, to finish title, and there was no future plans because Don thought I was going to lose too. I get to Germany. This is one fight I cried before this fight. I just saw Mike Tyson of Reels by Mike, and Mike was like, I cried before every fight. And I didn't cry before every fight. It was there was a couple fights I drew tears before, but the Marco Huck one was the main one. I mean, I had to go hide, man. It was right before the bus came to get us to take us to the arena.
Mhm.
And my whole training camp, like I'm a runner. I like to run. I got what's called runner's knee. Because my mind was like, man, I was in camp with Chris Bird. Now I've been going back and forth to camp with Chris Bird. Now I'm as a champion, and we even tighter. And Chris, we did a 10-mile run one time up Red Rock Mountain in Vegas. And I'm like, man, I feel great. So I come back home. Now I got the Huck fight. I'm like, man, I'm going to run 10 miles like twice a week, because that's going to get me in better shape. I run the 10-mile run in Philly around the river. And the next time, 2 days later, I tried to go run it and I couldn't. I ran about 2 blocks and I just had to stop. The pain was so excruciating. And I'm like, yo, this is the beginning of camp. I go to the doctor, like, yo, you got runner's knee, you can't run, chill. So I'm like, man, I can't chill. Like, that's me. My thing is being in shape. How do I be in shape without running? So I tried to do that I tried to do a short run. Got a little further, broke down again. And I'm like, oh my God. Now I'm like, we're like 2 weeks into this like 7-week camp. And I'm like, oh my God, this kid gonna freaking kill me. This motherfucker 22 years old. He's strong. Oh my God. So I saw Juan Diaz. You remember Diaz, right? From Texas. Yeah. He was a beast. That boy just throw punches. Bah, 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 bah. He did an interview and he was like, I swim and I do the stair climber. He said, I don't run long distance. And I was like, what? So I'm learning. So I found out how he did the stair climber, sprints, I found somebody that taught me how to do these 10 floor sprints. So you do regular 10 steps, and then you turn that joint up. You do 10 floor sprints. Do that for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Oh my God. So I did that. I would swim. I started swimming like crazy. And I still could do sprints though. I still could do short burst sprints. So I was killing that. This stuff had to replace the long distance running. Yeah. And good sparring, man. I had good sparring. Eddie Chambers, Chaz Witherspoon, Yusuf Mack. Now I'm trained by Brother Nazim. I'm sorry. I was getting trained by Brother Nazim, but this is when Nazim had that stroke, his first stroke.
Right.
And he couldn't train me. So now I'm with my amateur trainer still. We go to Germany. Marco Huck is the man over there. He's talking so much smack, like he's gonna beat me. We had just bought a pizza shop because we were trying to maximize, the money we got. I just came home with $70,000. Actually, what I did was I took a loan off of my $200,000 purse for the Huck fight. Good thing about Don, that's what I'm saying. My interest with Don wasn't necessarily money up front, because if he would have fought me, I'd have had the money to do it myself.
Right.
But it was just not getting the fights. So I lived in the ghetto, like as a world champion. Right before the Marco Huck fight, we were looking to move out of West Philly, and we found a house. They didn't accept our offer. And my wife was like, hey, how about forget getting a house? Let's get this pizza shop. It'll make money for us, because the way we've been fighting once a freaking year, we need some money coming in. And my wife wasn't really working because my daughter had came home from the hospital, and my daughter had a trach, she had a heart machine, she had she had like 16 hours of nursing, so my wife stayed home. My wife stopped her career and to help my daughter. And so now I'm like, yeah, let's get the pizza shop. But it was like 70,000 down. So I just called Don. I was like, hey, Don. He was like, yeah, cool. But he only do that because he know I'm about to fight. And he know you're going to get that money back. So I couldn't call him right now and be like, hey, Don, I need you know what I mean? So he knew he was getting his money back when I fought. So it was just an upfront of, he fronted me the money. Boom, we got the pizza shop. And overall, that didn't go as planned. But it was the way we were thinking, So
Sure.
Marco Huck, they come down, they're like, hey, van's on its way, be here in 15 minutes. I got my bag. Well, they got my bag. I got my headphones, and it's kind of like a little dip, like down in the basement off the lobby. And I just go down there and sit on the steps. I'm by myself, and I just start freaking crying because I'm like, this is what I wanted, you know, for years, to be a world champion. And on paper, I was going to lose. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the, and we know when you fight overseas, they got two judges in the pocket. At least one of the judges and the doctor, or two judges. Two judges and a doctor. I've experienced it all, you know, afterward. But I'm just like, I don't want to lose. You know, I don't want to lose. And I just start crying because I'm just like, and I just like, yo, this is going to be the hardest fight of this dude's life. You know what I mean? I said, this is going to be the worst fight of his life. If he beats me, he's going to remember this freaking fight, because I'm not just laying down. And you guys seen the fight. I went out there, man, and I just kept getting better and better. And he just wasn't that monster to me.
Yeah.
And I stopped him in the 12th. And that fight, which I think is my bet to me and my wife, that's my greatest victory.
Okay.
Because and not only because of who he was before, it's who he became after.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's a monster, man. So that's my greatest victory.
Well, the emotion and everything that led up to it, I kind of, you know, it's more than just the fight itself. It's everything encompassing it, right?
It's the life, it's money, it's taking care of my family, it's all of that.
So, Steve, how did I'm sure this is something that our listeners want to hear about, and you know, just because he's in the news and whatnot. How did the Tyson Fury fight come up, and how did you end up in becoming a heavyweight?
So, all right, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it as fast as I can, impactful. But after the Huck fight, I lost my title to Adamek in Jersey. Fought Wayne Braithwaite for the #1 spot. Adamek vacated. I was now I'm #1. I'm the #1 cruiserweight again. Yeah. But now I have the world title. Wherever I go, the world title goes. I ended up leaving Don. We that's a whole story in itself. Yeah. I'm not gonna waste the time on that right now. But I ended up swindling away from Don. We snuck away from Don on some slick crap. And we let the contract, we talked them out of, they wanted, I'll just give you a quick synopsis. They tried to get us to re-sign. And my wife was like, listen, we were already plotting. For 4 years, we were plotting. We're not re-signing again. We're not re-signing with this dude, because I had to re-sign. I was forced to re-sign with him in order to get the Guillermo Jones fight. So from that 4-year fight, that 4-year contract went to 7 years. You know, so now I'm like, I'm not doing that again. I'm getting the hell away from this dude. Now I'm a name, you know, people know me. I'm a former world champ. Somebody gonna pick me up. And we got away from Don. Now I'm #1 in the world. Wherever I go, the IBF title goes. Main events, we talked to main events. They wanted me to go heavyweight right then. And I just didn't want to go heavyweight. I just felt like I was the best cruiserweight in the world. And I wanted to be the best. So I wasn't even thinking about heavyweight at that time. So we left main events kind of hanging, because they thought they had a deal with us. And remember, they had Adamek. They wanted to redo that second Adamek. They wanted to rematch the Adamek fight. Yeah. I'm like, listen, let me call Poland and Germany, see what they offer. Because main events was saying, I can get you this cruiserweight title fight on ESPN for $25,000. And I was like, what? What? 25,000, like, goddamn. Then the whole thing is, oh, the cruiserweight. That's all we was hearing in America. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Let me call Sauerland Promotions and the Polish dudes. The Polish guys was talking better numbers, like 70,000, but the German dude was like 100,000, and you go up 20, 30,000 each fight, you know, for mandatories, and we'll negotiate high for other. Man, that was it. I signed with the Germans, you know, and so I get to Germany. Defend I beat Troy Ross for the world title. Now I'm 2-time. I defend my title against Enad Lucena. And now I'm looking for a unification bout with Marco Huck. That was one of the main reasons I went to Sauerland, because they had Marco Huck. He's got all these title defenses with the WBO unification bout. Let's have it. We find out that they didn't want me fighting Huck, because they knew I'd beat him. And Huck made a lot of money over there. You know, I'm signed with the Germans, but they don't, I don't speak German. You know, I don't speak Deutsch. I'll say that. That's what it's called. And, you know, I just wasn't that marketable. Now they have the Cuban guy, Juan Pablo Hernandez. I'm just like, whatever. Let's fight him. You know, I signed to fight Juan Pablo, not knowing that the promoters in Europe can also be the manager of the fighter that they promote. I didn't know that. So I didn't know that until the press conference of the first Hernandez fight. When we get to the press conference, I'm like, oh my freaking goodness. I wouldn't have fought him. I wouldn't have picked him to fight because I know these mugs want to take my title. You know, I was just bullheaded enough to be like, I'm the best cruiserweight in the world. Ain't nobody beating me. But this politics kicked my ass.
Yeah.
And that fight, that first fight with Hernandez, basically, Hernandez knocked me down in the first round. I got up and just kept climbing on him. By the sixth round, I'm looking like I'm about to stop him. I go sit down in the chair, and that's the first thing Nazem says. You gonna stop him next round? And I'm just like, we're on the same page. And the doctor waves the fight. Doctor waves the fight, and is like, so I asked the ref, what's the call? They waved the fight because me and Hernandez is a southpaw. We headbutt a couple times. He bled on this side bad in the second round, but they stopped that. In the fifth round, he bled. He didn't even bleed from it. It was just open. The doctor stopped the fight on the cut here, saying it could have bled into his eye. Right. It could have bled into his eye. So they stopped the fight. Of course, Hernandez is up on the cards a little bit, and he wins my world title like that. I'm super pissed, protested it. The IBF said, now this is where it gets full of shit. The IBF said, yeah, you can't, the fight was unjustly stopped because could have gotten out. That shit don't apply. So they said the fight was unjustly stopped, but Hernandez stays champion for the rematch. I was like, man, are you freaking kidding me? So my plan was they would award me back the title like they should have. I was just going to go heavyweight. Vacated. Now I didn't lose the title. I vacated the title. That put me in a better business stance.
Right.
But I didn't. I wasn't able to do that. The IBF gave the title to Hernandez. Now I'm fuming. I go back to rematch. It's a good fight. We won fight of the year. I was mad. I can't box when I'm angry. And I lost that fight. He knocked me down actually twice that time. But it was a good rumble. Yeah. And that was for the Ring Magazine and the IBF title. So from there, I'm like, what do I do? What the fuck do I do? I got 2 losses in Germany. If I stay here, they're gonna feed me to their cruiserweights. And a 2-time world champion on their upcoming cruiserweights ledgers is gonna look great, and they're gonna freaking rob me. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Right. So I was like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. So we told Silent we're done. And they were like, cool, because they got what they wanted from me. They wanted that title. That's it. Okay, Cunningham, thank you. And I was out. So now I'm like, heavyweight, I gotta go. I'm like, I gotta reinvent myself. I gotta do something different because America cruiserweights ain't happening. So I'm like, boom. Talk to my team, like, what about going heavyweight? And they were like, all right, well, what about it? Shit, you with? I mean, but I always spar heavyweights. I always been sparring heavyweights. And it was easy work.
No, did you have to cut? Did you have to cut a lot of weight for cruiserweight, or was
no? I didn't have to cut any. Hey, hold up, right quick. Let me tell my son to get my son. Sorry, I got to pick up my 6-year-old and at 3:30, but Junior's going to do it. So
fair enough.
So now I'm like, I'm sorry. What was? Did I have to cut weight? No. So as a cruiserweight, I was always underweight. I was walking around. I fought at my walk around weight. I walked around at 96, 97.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I always walked around that weight. I remember when I fought in South Africa, they were like, the WBA guy was like, man, we get you down light heavyweight. I can get you a light heavyweight title shot back then. And I was like, I tried. I couldn't get past 187, man. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do that. I was like, no. Yeah. So now, I mean, even as a cruiserweight, I would go to the scale drinking a gallon. I take a gallon of water with me. Intimidation. I'm drinking the water, looking at them at the face off. And they look, everybody like, what the hell? Like this dude? And I get on the scale, 198. And I'm like, you know what I mean? So because I worked out all the time, my weight stayed exactly where it was because I'm a workout-aholic, So now I'm heavyweight. And I never been over 200 in my life. Never. And I started taking these shakes. I never took nothing. No creatine, no glutamine, no vitamin. Right. I never took nothing. I just worked out as a cruiserweight. Now I got an MHP sponsorship. I'm doing the creatine, I'm doing all the shakes, milk putting the weight on me. And in the beginning of camp, I'd be like 208, 209. My first heavyweight fight was 207.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 207. But here's a story. So before I decide to go heavyweight, I get a call from my lawyer, John Horner, who's Vladimir's lawyer. He's like, hey, Vladimir wants you in camp. And I'm like, what? So he's like, yeah, Vladimir wants you in camp. Vladimir's fighting David Haye. And they're like, you're 6'3". He's 6'3", cruiserweight champ. Hey, that's a good sparring for him. So I'm like, all right, great. And John was like, this is, and this is like a little leisure about, you saying you want to go heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, cool. Now Nazim at the time, Nazim is like, no, fuck that. Because Nazim is such a thinker, and he's right. He says, Vladimir sees you're coming. He's like, and what the Klitschko's do is they get you in camp.
Mm-hmm.
They get all the guys in training camp and test them out first. Then they start. Then they. Oh, I'm gonna fight so and so. Like Eddie Chambers. That's why Vladimir was like, oh, we're gonna beat Eddie. We know.
Right.
They already knew. They touched him up in sparring. So for me, I'm just like, screw it. I gotta do something. He gonna pay me some good money. I mean, he paid me I think I got paid like $1,200 a week.
Right.
I was out there I was only out there for 2 weeks. And I get out there, you got Big Baby Miller, you got Sprout. Oh man, it's like 5 other heavyweights. And he's sending a couple heavyweights home. He doesn't even want to spar Big Baby Miller because Big Baby Miller's trying to knock him out. Mm-hmm. So he sits Big Baby down. And Big Baby always going at him every time you see him. Man, fuck Vladimir, stop being a pussy, man. When you gonna spar me? Or send me home. And Vladimir like, no, we gonna keep you here. But so I get in there and spar with Vladimir. Now, I'm not bragging. I'm not bragging at all. When I got with Brother Nazim, I'm just telling the truth. When I got with Brother Nazim said, Steve, you can beat dudes with your left arm only. Mm. And I'm like, what? Now, this is the type of guy Brother Nazim is. This is why I've been dying to train with this dude since the amateurs. Now I finally got a chance to. I seen his work. His twin sons, one of them was an Olympian. His nephew was a freaking gold medalist at the Pan Am Games. I seen his work. I want that, So I finally get time to train with this guy, and I'm giving him my freaking 1,000. He tells me you can beat dudes with one arm. I'm not lying. You guys can ask Eddie Chambers. You can ask Chaz Witherspoon. You can ask anybody in Philly who's been in those gyms I've been in. I boxed for 2 years with one arm.
Oh, wow.
All the time. I would come home and my freaking left arm would be sore. So I sparred with, like I told you, for the Huck fight. Not the Huck fight. After the Huck fight, I still sparred with Eddie Chambers, Chaz, and Yusuf. I sparred each one of them top-rated heavyweights and light heavyweight. Yusuf Mack was a top-rated light heavyweight at the time with one arm, 4 rounds each. And Eddie Chambers came back the second day and was like, I just figured out, man, you only sparring this with one hand. You only using one hand. So that's just the mindset I had with Brother Nazim. I felt unbeatable with that dude. Mm-hmm. So we get to Vladimir's camp. I get to Vladimir's camp. I'm out in Austria, and I'm like, I'm going to do the one-hand drill on him. I'm going to see if I can. I'm out there sparring Vlad for 3 or 4 rounds. One arm. Pop, 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 pop. Then the trainer comes to my corner. Hey, man, in between rounds, something wrong with your right arm? And I'm like, nah. He's like, oh, well, why are you using it? I was like, oh, my bad. I got you. And when he left, I was like, yes. Because I was, and like I said, I'm not bragging. I'll just say I was giving Vladimir some good work. Mm-hmm. I give him such good work. I got the camp bonus. Nice. Over all of them heavyweights he had. I left that camp. I was there for 2 weeks. I left with $7,000.
Oh, wow.
They gave me the camp bonus at the end of camp. And so recent, and I did 2 more camps with Vlad, because me and Vlad became tight. Vlad is like, man, yo, that boxing, man, I need that. That's what I need, because everybody's trying to knock him out. And he's like, these guys just trying to knock me out. And he's like, he's not learning. He's not getting a chance to, but he's like, with you, he's like, man, it's really special that a world champion can come to a camp, and I was just like, Vlad, man, I'm here to learn, bro. You crazy? Yeah, he's the man. I want to shit, so that was my mindset as a two-time world champ. So now I get home and I call John, the lawyer. I'm like, John, I'm going heavyweight. Fuck that. I'm going heavyweight, baby. I'm like, man, I did some good work with Vlad, And he was like, I knew it. I knew it. So boom, that's what made me go heavyweight. That's why I became heavyweight.
That's awesome. And so how did the Tyson fight emerge then?
So the Tyson Fury fight emerged because, if you guys see my record, my history, I fought Adamek that second time finally as a heavyweight, my second heavyweight fight.
Right.
I pitched a 8.5 and 9.0 in that fight. I did everything but get a knockdown with that guy. And I was still able to get robbed in my home state. They still robbed me in Pennsylvania. And I'm like, I was just like, yo, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So the word was Cunningham's too small. Adamek had already fought Vladimir or Vitaly, I'm sorry. And they were trying to get a heavyweight to challenge Vladimir and Vitaly from America.
Right.
So they rather than sorry, go ahead. Oh. So the next fight up was to get to Vladimir. Adamek got stopped by Vitaly the year before. So now it's to get to Vladimir. And they didn't feel I could contest against Vladimir. Now, I told nobody about the sparring. I mean,
I was just thinking about that.
But sparring is sparring, but still, it gives you a look at, things you can do. Maybe Vladimir would have got me, but we believe I was going to get in there and do some different stuff to him that people didn't see before. And I was like, yo, so that's why I wanted that Vladimir fight. But the word was Cunningham's too small because I weighed in. My first heavyweight fight was 207. Then the next one was for Adamek. I was 204. I still was a cruiserweight, and that's what everybody kept saying. Cunningham's too small. He don't have power and da. So with that being said, now I'm like, I got to get a way back. I got to get a way back. I got to get a good win, and I got to show him I got some power. So Tyson Fury, nobody knew Tyson Fury was Tyson Fury at this time, 2013, early or late 2012. He's talking smack on Twitter. I see him. I'm like, this big goofy mug, man. So I start talking smack back to him. And, we're talking smack. I basically set that fight. I basically started that fight with Fury. And, have your people see me. I'll come to America and smash cruiserweights and So now, as a heavyweight, I'm signed with Main Events. Now I'm with Main Events now. And they are ecstatic about the Fury thing. Oh, okay, cool. Boom, bring him over. The Fury fight happens, and you guys saw what happened. How it went down. It was a great fight. It was a great fight while it lasted. Fury did what he had, like he said, he did what he had to do in order to get the win. He couldn't box me. He couldn't box with me. I was beating him to the punch and landed more power shots. So, but I felt fighting Fury beating because, again, tall European dudes, man, ain't nothing. I'm going to get him. You know what I'm saying? But we worked hard. Now, in training camp, the first day we signed that contract to fight Fury, Brother Nazim said, Steve, you're going to knock him on his ass with this punch. And we drilled that overhand right every day in camp. At the end of the training, all right, we do like 2 rounds. Boom, ba, 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 boom, boom. Yo, that crap. So when it happened in the fight, I didn't even think about it. It just happened. He threw a 1-2, boom. And I was like, woo. Like, I didn't think about it. It just was instinct. And that's from the training. So being as though I didn't get the win, but the performance was so good. It kept me in play, it kept me alive, So I after that fight, I got a lesser fight against Manuel Quezada, from Cali. Beat him. I think he said I broke his ribs. I hit him to the body, man. He was like, man, you broke my after the fight. And I'm like, sorry, man. Like, we cool dudes, most of the guys I fought, I'm cool with, except 2 of them. Tarver and Marco Huck.
I want to ask you about your fight with Tarver. That was a draw. How'd you feel that went?
Man, that was bullshit. That was bullshit. That was bullshit. And I didn't think they were going to award him that, but then it hit me. This is his network. We fought on the network he commentated on.
Yeah.
He's the bigger draw or a
Yeah.
bigger name, But and then even with for Sean Porter, I was a little bit mad with Sean Porter because Sean was commentating the fight, and it was all, oh man, look at how Tarver's moving. Look at what Tarver's doing. Tarver. He's so old, but he's 46 and he's moving like And it's like, bro. And then they're like, Tarver's a former world champion. And then you got Steve Cunningham. And I'm like, he never mentioned I was a 2-time world champ. It was just so biased. I was like, bro. But then after that fight with Tarver, he fails the test. He popped on the PED test.
Oh man.
And I was like, look at this crap. So this guy, he literally robbed me of a good victory for my record and by cheating. And after that loss, I was basically kind of talked into going back down to cruiserweight, because it's like, man, and I kind of felt down too, because this was before he popped on the test. This is before anybody knew. And my thing is, if anybody can get, even in blatant robberies, I feel this way. If anybody can look at me fight and still be able to cheat me and give a fight to another guy, I feel like I messed up somewhere, So after that Tarver fight, I'm like, man, I'm down because I'm like, I can't beat this motherfucker. Like, goddamn, like he must be old. He look like he out of shape. I'm like, I thought I was running punches off. My thing was to out volume because listen, you get old, you lose a step, but you keep that power. Tarver was knocking dudes out, and he was on the pads, so he was knocking dudes out. So I wasn't gonna just run in there on that dude. So my thing was pop, 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 and I outpointed him so much. So after that fight, we're on our way to get our check right out the ring, and Lou DiBella, who was working with Al Heyman at the time, now I'm signed with PBC. I'm with Al's my agent now.
Right. And
this is after the robbery I got on HBO for Glass Golf.
Right.
Because remember, I beat Amir Mansour, undefeated Southpaw monster.
Yes.
I beat him on NBC, got the US heavyweight USBA title, and now to get to Vladimir, I'm fighting Glass Golf. I get a call from Vladimir that when we in the locker room from our lawyer, and the lawyer's like, Vlad says he hopes you win, and they're going to work to get you the most money that they can, like at least like 1.5. That would have been my biggest payday.
Sweet.
Big. I never made $1 million fight. That would have been it. And I'm like, yes, I just gotta beat this what I do. and the reason why Vlad wanted me to win was because I had already had a presence, a fan base in Europe. Germany, Ukraine, Russia. All my fights when I fought overseas was highly televised in Europe. And people say this, but I said I'm famous in Europe. It is real stuff. So Vlad, remember at that time, the Ukraine was having that civil war.
Right.
And Glass Golf was from the other side that Vladimir and them were from. And they were like, they couldn't sell that. It wouldn't have been a good sell. So he was like, I'm rooting for you. So, but you see what happened. And boom, now I'm in this situation where I am. And I'm fighting Tarver. I lose. I mean, it's a draw. I'm sorry. It's a draw. And now Lou DiBella, who's with Al, he's like, listen, bro, you're not big enough for these heavyweights. You just go down to cruiserweight and we can get you a shot at the WBO title, which Marco Huck just lost to a Polish southpaw named Wlodarcyzk on my undercard. And which was bittersweet because now Marco Huck's first fight in America is on my undercard.
There you go.
And that dude hated me so much, yo. Like he hated the fact that I beat his ass. He still hates me to this day. So we just laughed at him. We walked in past and just looked and laughed. And this dude had bodyguards. He's just out of his brain. But so now I go back to cruiserweight and I fight Wlodarcyzk. And it was a good fight, but he knocked me down 3 times. He ended up knocking me down 3 times. And I still got up, kicked his butt in between the rounds, but those knockdowns you couldn't beat. So he retained his title. And I was like, all right. Next fight was a pickup fight in Reading, just to stay alive, just to stay warm. And then I get the call I have to fight. I got to fight with Andrew Tabiti on the Floyd McGregor undercard. So again, on pay-per-view. This is my first pay-per-view event. We're opening up the pay-per-view. And I'm like, yo, I'm so excited. Like, damn, this big things is happening. You know, I'm with the big guys. You know what I mean? Now I got some support. I'm with Al Heyman, you know, I'm fighting with Floyd's undercard. Like, yo, making some decent money, you know, for this little fight. And I didn't factor in that this is Floyd's young cruiserweight, undefeated. This is Floyd's. This is Floyd's show. This is Floyd's town.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is Floyd's world.
Yeah.
It didn't hit me till after the fight, you know, because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm part of the squad now. You know what I mean? With PBC, and now I felt once I got with Al Heyman, that was the best boxing experience I ever had in my life. Dealing with money, dealing with the way they treated me. I got paid more money without a title with PBC than I did with a freaking title.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
No bullshit. Twice. I got paid $300,000 2 times messing with PBC. And my biggest payday for defending one of my world titles was $250.
Oh, wow.
Shit was crazy, man. So I'm happy though, because now, like I said, I feel like I'm in. You know, I see my man Danny here. He eating, he making big money. He got a big name, getting exposed. I'm part of the squad now. Now I don't have to go around the world. You know, this and that, but that was far from it. Now I'm fighting in Vegas on the undercard of McGregor Floyd in first round. And of course, you guys remember Tabiti's upcome. He was killing them dudes. I mean, and he was knocking out C+ fighters, B- guys, not even B-, C+ guys. He's putting them to sleep like you should. And he was touted to be the next best thing. Yada, yada. I get the call. Yo, you fighting Tabiti? Great. Go out there. We train hard. I go out there. My sparring partner was harder than Tabiti, tell you the truth. My sparring partner, Dafir Smith, he was more crafty and then just difficult.
Yeah.
So I get out there fighting with, I mean, not even just a fight, the whole event. It wasn't even like it was a real fight. Like we're in the back, signing all of the doctor's paperwork, doing the weigh-ins and stuff, and it was just all about McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
All about Floyd. I mean, I
that fight.
Yeah, it wasn't even like a real organization. And I'm peeping at like, what the fuck? And I'm like, and McGregor comes in, everybody runs over to him. And I'm like, hold the fuck up. We still got stuff to do. And I'm like, I'm a 2-time world champion here. This is just an MMA guy. But them dudes was making freaking hundreds of millions. So money talks. They don't give a damn how many. Somebody asked me last month, I did an interview, and she asked me afterwards, was like, Steve, would you rather money or the belts? I told her the money. I said, because at the end of the day, when we're done fighting. Them belts don't really mean shit, but trophies. They're sitting on my wall, you know. And people forget you. They fucking forget you. The fans forget you, bro. You know.
Oh, we don't forget you, brother, man.
No, I get that. Right.
What made you take 4 years off and come back to fight Frank Mir?
I mean, so it wasn't up to me, you know. So I after the Tabiti loss, you know, that kid, man, he's just running and holding, and it was just unbelievable. That cruiserweight tournament was happening, and I was said I was going to be in the cruiserweight tournament, but of course with the loss, you know, but I'm like, yo, y'all know that wasn't a loss, you know, it was some bullshit. But I heard out that it was said, oh, Cunningham don't need to take that type of damage or something for that. And I'm like, what? So my thing is this: the way I fight to my opponent, and that's a plus, and it's a negative. You know, you put me in there with Tyson Fury, you get the best Cunningham, you get one of the best USSs you ever seen. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You put me in there with Adam, you get an 8.5 performance. You put me in there with them type of dudes. You put me in the ring with a Vladimir. I can box this dude with one fucking arm, and because I'm on point. Like, this motherfucker dangerous. You put me in there with a fucking young cub Tabiti who's scared of his own fucking shadow. I can't work with that. You get what I'm saying? Like, and that's my fault. You know what I mean? Because I should be able to turn on it but in that fight, I was told we winning. So I stayed with the way I was. But it's like I can't USS the scared dude. You know what I mean? I'm just not that guy. Yeah. So now I was told that I'm not you know, they didn't want me to take the damage that I would get fighting a Usyk. And I'm like, bro, I'm gonna rise to that occasion. I'm not saying I beat Usyk. I'm not saying I beat any of them guys, but I'm not saying they beat me. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I rise to the occasion, and so I was kept out of that tournament. I was so freaking pissed because who the fuck else should have been in that tournament? I'm
Absolutely.
one of the best goddamn cruiserweights in American history.
Yep.
Stop the bullshit. You know, so but I was kept out. Tabiti went in, and me and Tabiti had words over Instagram. After our fight, I was posting the pictures of me hitting him some clips. And I'm like, the 40-year-old, I was 41 years old, 41, 42. I'm like, the 40-year-old fighter should not have to chase the young fighter around the ring to make him fucking fight.
Yeah.
I'm literally in the ring like, yo, come on, let's go. He's running. So, and the referee, Jay Nady, had to tell me, like, come on, Steve, calm down. You know, and I'm like, this dude is not trying to fucking fight.
Yeah.
So from there, Tabiti, you know, we started talking in the comments, and I said, listen, I don't hate you, I don't dislike you. I said, but you were given a gift. You didn't beat me, you got the win, but you didn't beat me. You know, I'm like, now let me give you some advice. I said, when you fight those Europeans, you are going to have to rumble. I said, they're going to take points from you for all that fucking holding you're doing. I said, because you're going to have to go overseas and fight. You're not going to be able to be protected by Floyd in Vegas. I told him this shit. I said, you're going to have to fucking rumble. You're not going to be able to hold. They're going to take points, and you're going to have to fucking man up. And we left it at that. A year later, he gets put to fucking sleep. He gets put to sleep, and he got 2 points taken for all that fucking holding, fighting Dorcas.
Yeah.
And Dorcas put him to fuck to sleep because he had to fight. With me, he wasn't forced to fucking engage. So from there, I'm just like, fuck, man, you know, 2017, that's when we got to fight. We took that money and I opened my boxing gym, the USS Fight Academy. That's where I'm wearing, USS Fight Academy.
Awesome.
You know, my plan was like take the year off and get the gym rolling. And then, you know, come back, you know, because even though I was 42, 43, even now I'm 46, I feel freaking, I'm actually trying to get in this bare knuckle. Or I had a couple fights fall through last year. But because I'm always sparring, I'm always in shape. I'm always working. We actually were sparring last night. And I'm just always right. So I took that year off, and in 2018 or 19, I was trying to come back. I talked to Al, and he was trying to set something up, but then that fell through. But then we were talking again early 2020 or late 2019. And you know how PBC does it. When you start seeing the fighter commentating, you know, they're trying to bring him back around.
Right.
So I got the gig to commentate, and I was working on a contract with FS1 for commentating. So I got the gig to do the undercard of the Rosario J-Rock, the Julian Williams fight in Philly.
Right.
January 2020. Lennox Lewis and a couple other guys did the main fight, but I did the
undercard.
It was a great experience. And that was for the directors to check me out, you know, because I've already, you know, you guys know I've already commentated for NBC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, all these other spots. Hey, hold on, let me go check.
Steve is just checking out something here. He should be back with us pretty soon. Here he is.
Yeah, I'm back. I just making sure my son's going to get the little guy.
Hey, no worries, man.
So where was I? I'm sorry.
The
commentating. So I commentated for NBC FS1 before, and you know, I do a good job. And now we're like, yo, let's try to get you this contract, trying to make this exit plan, you know, and you know, for retirement. Hey, this is something I want to do.
Right.
And the director's really looking at me. That's why they had me there. I score big with him. He's loving it. Like, yo, man, ooh, we love you. So that's January 2020.
And then the pandemic hits.
Well, before the pandemic hit, mid-February 2020, I get an email and it says, FS1, welcome to the team.
Oh, wow.
Right. they're like, yo, welcome to the team. So I'm like, yo, we did it. Oh shit. Boom, pandemic. Fucking pandemic.
Fucking pandemic, man.
Fucking pandemic, right? And that goes on so long that the director, he freaking like retires or something or leaves. So now the guy that liked me is gone. There's no boxing for about a year almost.
Right.
Then when boxing comes back, now it's, oh, we're only using the top guys because there's only so many shows, you know?
Right.
And everybody got fucking goofy ass masks and all this old bullshit. You can't, you know, it ain't that many people in the audience, yada, yada, yada. 2021 comes around, we're inching a little better. Now, you know, now we're 2022. And I'm like, bro, I do little shows in Philly. You know, I got like a constant deal where I commentate the fights in Philly. But I'm gonna swing back around with FS1, but I don't know.
Yeah,
You know
perhaps you know,
Mhm.
you can send us some of those links so we can get them out to the
Yeah,
public so they can see where you're commentating and everything. We
yeah,
want everyone to know what
will
you're up
do.
to. Steve, you have your boys are fighting now. One's turned professional. How's that
Yeah.
going?
So, you know, I have Steve Jr., USS Jr. He's 20 now. He's been boxing since he was 7. I started him late because at first I really didn't want him to box for some dumb reason. I'm like, nah, I don't want him to box. But he was raised in the gym, you know. So one day I seen him just hitting the bag, and I'm like, shit, let's give it a try, bro. You know. And he looked like shit. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He looked like shit, but he was so discombobulated with his feet, and he just didn't throw with power. And he's 7 though, but still, I'm seeing other 7-year-olds. We're in Philly. These 7-year-olds is monsters. And I'm like, but I see one thing in Junior. I see this want. He wanted it. I see this learning. I see he listens to me. I'm telling him to do this. He does it in his way because it's all discombobulated, but he did it.
Yeah.
You know, so he man, this kid is freaking awesome, man. He is bad. He fought, he's been top amateur all his amateur career, nationally ranked every year, number 3, number 4, number 2, number 3, you know, bronze medalist in the National Golden Gloves, where everybody who was there said that he should have been at least fighting for that silver or gold, and that was some complete bullshit. That's another story. We call that the USS curse or something.
No. So what weight is he fighting at?
He's fighting at he won 147. So right now he's at
That's a killer division, bro.
Well, now he's at 156 because he walks around at like 160, 162.
Right.
So
yeah, between 140, 168, those are all straight killers, man.
Yeah. And he's a southpaw.
Awesome, man. Steve, we do something here on Champ and Chance. We play the name game. Chance will, you know, shoot out some names to you and you know, just let us know what you think about them.
Let's go.
All right.
Lennox Lewis.
One of the greatest heavyweights ever, and he's not talked about a lot. It's bullshit.
And a guy you know very well, Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury. I got a lot to say about Fury. Tyson Fury, a genius in marketing, a marketing genius, one of the most in shape fighters I've ever met. Because I went to training camp with him and I see the shit he does. He's in shape. He's not just big. Like I said that before. He's just big. No, that motherfucker in shape. And I'll say this on the negative side, one of the best bullshitters. One of the best bullshitters in the world. But those are the 3 things.
Roy Jones Jr.
Arguably top 3 best fighters of all time. Easily. Not argue, just easily top 3, right? Like, I used to emulate Roy, man. I used to try to my way. It didn't look like it, but I love Roy, bro. And I got his number in my phone now.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
One more for you. Manny Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao. All right. Great fighter, but what makes him great, I think what makes him great is the energy from his community, yo. The Filipino fan base is unbelievably nuts for him. And that is beautiful. Like, that's the one thing I pull from Manny Pacquiao. We see great fighter, in shape, legend, this and that. For me, the main thing that's more important is the support he got from his country. That shit motivates you. It pushes you to next levels. Those people love that dude, man. And that us fighters in America, we don't get that, man. We don't.
It's funny that you say that. I've been to a lot of his fights live, and I've been sitting by people from the Philippines. When he comes out, the women are literally crying.
Right, right. He's like a rock star.
Yeah.
Bro. He's Elvis to them, man.
It is.
Absolutely. I got one for you, if I may, just kind of
Yes.
tie this all up. Alexander Usyk.
Ooh, Alexander Usyk. Possibly one of the best boxing minds ever. Best boxers ever. Him, man, the way he boxes. Shakur Stevens. His body, you know, his distance is unbelievable. But Usyk is, and he should go down as one of the top 5. He should possibly go down as one of the top 5 or top 7 fighters of all time. I'm serious. And people won't say that because you got to look at, he ran through all of them cruiserweight champions, and them dudes aren't slouches. They're just not marketed here. You know, so we don't know about Gassiev. He's such a monster. We don't know about shit. Usyk ran through Huck. Usyk ran through all these guys, man. And now he's heavyweight unified. Man, come on, bro. Usyk is one of the best boxing minds we've seen in a long time, man. Straight up.
Brother Steve, thank you. Steve, we've covered so much information, but there's so much more that I want to talk to you about, man. Hopefully we can get together again. Not hopefully, I want to get together again and be able to talk about, you know, your sons. And I really wanted to talk about your daughter a little bit and a bit of that. And you living in Pittsburgh, I'm a Steelers fan. Are you a Steelers fan now?
Oh yeah, no doubt. If you live in Pittsburgh, you gotta be a Steelers fan.
My man. So, you know, that's one of my spots that I have to come down to one day to call that my Mecca. To come down and check it out. So, Steve, thank you so much for all this wonderful, wonderful conversation. I just asked one more question.
Yep.
Will Usyk Fury happen? Yes or no? You being a cruiserweight, you knowing Tyson Fury to a certain extent. What are your thoughts on this fight as we wrap this up?
And who wins?
And who wins?
All right. I don't think it happens because Usyk wins. You know, I don't think it happens. I think Fury's going to do some crazy stuff. He's going to fight somebody else, and he might just vacate the WBC. I don't think that fight's going to happen though. If it does happen, Usyk wins because Usyk is me. He's a way better me. And a way better me because Usyk takes the power out. And he's going to touch him. Pop, boom, 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 pop, pop. He's going to touch him and move and touch and move. And Fury's not going to be allowed to do those tactics, to use those tactics that are kind of borderline. He's not going to be allowed to use those tactics on Usyk because Usyk's management team is Aegis. Aegis is a powerhouse in boxing. In Europe, man, they're not going to let that shit happen. You know what I mean? Usyk might, and I'm telling you, I was talking about this last week. I'm going to bet if and when they fight, I'm going to bet Usyk by decision and Usyk by DQ. because they're going to have them referees on point, man. Fury's not going to be allowed to do that shit that gets you tired and drains you. It's not going to be allowed to. They're going to take points. So I got Usyk for the win.
That's awesome.
And Fury knows that. That's why it's not happening.
There you go. Brother, thank you so much for taking out the time. You know, we want to talk about the comic books. We still haven't talked about so many things, man. So let's reconnect again. Let's do part 2 of Steve Cunningham. Two-time world champion. Ladies and gentlemen, SAMP&CHANCE with Steve Cunningham. Thank you for the experience. Thank you for your time, brother. And have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Take it easy. Thank you, guys.
Take care, brother, man. Thank you so much.